My name's Rory Hardie, and I attended the University of Aberdeen from 2014 to 2018.
Thank you very much. And why did you decide to study at University of Aberdeen?
Well, I wanted to study history, and the University of Aberdeen was a fantastic place to do history, but not just history. I was particularly interested in Scottish history,
Hmm.
so that's what drew me to Aberdeen.
Thank you. And why particularly history and Scottish history? What interested you in that subject?
That is a very good question. Well, I'm a proud Scot. Was born on the West Coast and then moved through to Edinburgh when I was about 10.
Hmm.
And we do a good job of covering our country's history a little bit as we grow up in
Hmm.
school, but I knew there was a lot more to the history and the stories and narratives there than what we learned in high school. So um, it was my favorite subject, and I was curious about learning more.
That's very nice. And what are some of your favorite memories from being a student in Aberdeen?
Uh, Question. I had a great time at uni. I loved studying the history and great history faculty that I loved learning from a lot. I made some great friends. Also played for the University Hockey Club for a couple of years, Vadim, which I really enjoyed. What did I enjoy in particular? Yeah, I think certainly those third and fourth years, once you've got your roots settled and you've got those friendships and also those relationships with the tutors and lecturers, it's such a phenomenal place to be. So yeah, fond memories.
Absolutely. And when did you decide that you want to work in finance, from studying history to working in finance? You've done a couple of internships
Yeah,
as a student.
yeah, it's a good question. Whilst I loved studying history, I knew perhaps that it would be something that would continue to be a passion, but maybe not for my career. I was interested in finance because my grandpa had worked as a financial advisor,
Hmm.
and growing up, I'd seen the impact he'd had on communities in Glasgow. And when you do that job well, and he used to say he would husband people's money and take care of it. You make people's lives a lot easier, and in some cases can make
Yes.
positive life-changing decisions. um so I knew that I was interested in learning more about finance. Obviously, as a history degree student, you don't get massive exposure to it. I picked some modules in accountancy and economics in my first and second years, but luckily, I went into a firm that encourages, a plethora of different degree backgrounds.
Hmm. Interesting. And how would you summarize your key career milestones?
Oh, crikey, good question. Um, yeah, I guess making that decision to get on with the applications, and this might ring true with yourself and your peers. Once you decide on an area or industry
Hmm.
you're interested in, it's about doing the research, networking, and speaking to people that work in the industry
Hmm.
to better understand whether that will be a good place for you to work. So for me, yeah, there was a real penny drop moment when I heard a little bit about the sales process within finance, because I knew I wasn't ever going to be someone who was up to their knees in the numbers and really excited by data and
Hmm.
able to sit behind a computer screen for long hours at a time. I've always been motivated by people. I'm a social creature. And so the business development side to finance appealed to me. So that was quite an important penny drop moment, was making that realization and also working out that those jobs, were available to graduates going into the industry. Um, I think I think potentially another important moment was Yeah, whilst being on a rotational graduate program, you get exposure to different parts of the business,
Hmm.
and you learn about what different teams are doing within larger organizations. So I would definitely encourage, I appreciate these schemes are competitive to get onto, but um, even if you don't land on a rotational grad scheme, when as a student, when you're going into an organization as an intern, use that as an opportunity to go for coffees with people from different teams and get a real
Hmm.
sense for um, the different teams and the different departments, and get a sense for what they're doing every day. And once you have
Hmm.
a good idea of what their job is and how much they enjoy it, you can really begin to paint a picture for where you might fit in the organization. So I think for me, yeah, I did a couple of internships while I was a student, and once that first point was done in terms of setting my heart on finance and sales.
Hmm.
Yeah, a really important second realization was um, going out there and doing the networking, having the conversations, and kind of confirming that um, once I had my foot in the door.
Hmm.
So yeah, haven't got three for you, but there's two important realizations.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's very interesting. And you worked in financial industry in Edinburgh and London. What would you say are the main differences between working in both cities in finance?
Both brilliant places to work.
Hmm.
Edinburgh is a fantastic financial industry, lots of financial advice firms, wealth firms, and asset managers. And I loved starting my career there. A lot of very bright individuals I worked with at Aberdeen Investments. I think where London differs is it's obviously a financial hub, not just for the UK, but I think, Edinburgh could certainly be a consider a financial hub for the UK and potentially Europe, but London is obviously a financial hub for the world. And so for me it was a nice step to come down south and uh yeah, I suppose see more of the opportunities that London has to offer.
Hmm. And what are your current responsibilities? What does your typical day looks like?
It's a very good question. So I am in the wealth business development team at a business called Dimensional Fund Advisors, and my responsibilities lie with raising Dimensional's profile and furthering our business development objectives with wealth and DFM firms.
Hmm.
And a DFM firm, if you've not heard of that before, there's lots of acronyms in finance that we need to get rid of, is a discretionary fund manager. And what
Hmm.
we've seen in the UK is a massive growth of this type of business, where 20 years ago, your local financial advisor who will be looking after families and friends, life savings, where 20 years ago they were running their own investment book, making decisions on what stocks to hold in client portfolios and which funds to have exposure to.
Hmm.
Because of the regulatory environment and also the consolidation we've seen in the financial advice industry, we've seen a massive growth. This firm called the discretionary fund manager, who effectively for an advisor, they can outsource the investment aspect of their job. They can focus on, to use you as an example, Adam, your financial objectives. You know, you're, you're wanting to save to send a child to university in
Hmm.
20 years time. You want to retire at X age. That is the bread and butter of what financial advisors do. And so this firm, DFMs, have come into the world off the back off the back of providing a really useful service to financial
Hmm.
advisors. And so I work with DFMs to provide dimensional fund services for them. So it's about, as with any sales or business development role, it's about understanding the problem set your
Hmm.
clients are facing and helping them to meet their investment objectives.
That's very interesting. Thank you very much for explaining. I appreciate it. What would be your advice for students who are trying to get internship in financial industry or graduate roles? How to stand out if you don't have prior experience, I guess.
Yeah, and I know it's getting harder and harder. I think I think for me, obviously, I'm about 7 years into my career, so I'm not the one making the hiring decisions
Hmm.
yet. But what worked okay for me was giving a lot of thought into my CV, and I appreciate you guys have,
Hmm.
the challenges and benefits of AI tools. And I don't doubt that, AI screening is a nightmare for CVs, but yeah, don't be afraid of talking about what makes you unique on your
Hmm.
CV. You've got to think of ways to talk about your achievements and interests and passions from a work perspective and make that stand out.
Hmm.
Um, Certainly, dimensional talk a lot for hiring graduate roles. They don't want to be able to sniff AI through the CV, so they want to see that someone's typed this up and has put a lot of human thought into it. So that would be my tip at the moment is, whilst some businesses absolutely will be doing AI screening, the team I work for will be on the lookout to not do that effectively. I'd also say don't be afraid to reach out and speak to people. Um, you've built a great legacy organization at Aberdeen. You and so I think you understand, Vadim, how useful networking
Yeah.
can be. So don't be shy. Reaching out to people on LinkedIn can sometimes be a bit tricky, but attend careers fairs, go to networking events in person in London and in Edinburgh and in Aberdeen. Attend these events and be confident and go up to individuals at businesses you want to hear about and shake their hand and say, hi, I'm really interested in, you know, my
Hmm.
name's so and so. I'm at the University of Aberdeen studying X, and I'd really love to hear a bit more about your job as I, suss out my career options. I've always found people in the industry I work in asset management to be very kind and to be accommodating of people earlier in their careers. So yes, I would say people working in the industry do get a lot of LinkedIn messages, so it's maybe not a good way to stand out. So I would think about what events can you go to,
Hmm.
or and that sort of careers fair or networking societies you can make yourself a
Hmm.
part of to get yourselves in the room with people as opposed to reaching out electronically, which
Hmm.
sometimes works great, but if not, it can be a little bit upsetting at times. I know when you don't hear back from people.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great advice. And I have just two more questions. Are there any books or podcasts you would recommend for our students? It could be something career related or non-career related at all. Maybe there are some books which are motivational for you or inspirational.
Okay, I can maybe do I could maybe do a couple of podcasts. I could do a couple of worky podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely recommend. Forward Guidance is a brilliant macroeconomic podcast ran
Yeah.
out of the United States. Do you know it, Vadim? You're
Yeah, yeah,
nodding. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a good one.
It is.
And a little bit more on the stock specific side, perhaps. Norges Bank do a fantastic one. Nikolai Tangin, which is in good company, and
Mm-hmm.
he interviews CEOs and C-suite of firms
Yeah.
in the Norwegian
It's a very nice one. Very
sovereign pension
interesting. Yeah.
fund. Yeah, so that's a good one. Um, yeah, those would be my two work recommendations, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. And the last question is, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I was always quite shy when I was starting out as an intern and definitely at times guilty of having a bit of imposter syndrome when I was starting out in the industry. So remember you've got your foot in the door for a reason. You
Hmm.
know, if you've got that internship, the business backs you and wants to hear your ideas. So bring that positive energy and proactivity that you guys have coming out of university. Businesses want to hear your ideas and bring that to the table with with energy. And as I say, proactivity is a brilliant word to keep in mind. What I think distinguishes good performers from great performers. A good performer is someone that, perhaps waits to hear from the manager what the to-do list is and
Hmm.
cracks on with it and does a good job with it. The proactive performer who's maybe pushing and getting those great or exceptional results is thinking of what the to-do list is before
Hmm.
his or her manager has to. And I think that's what really sets apart the grads that I work with at Dimensional and prior to that at Aberdeen.